You have been carrying something asleep inside you, and in this very moment, it has started to pulse with a frequency you can no longer ignore. It is not a thought, not an idea. It is an urgency that has made your breath heavier, as if there were an invisible weight on your chest that is actually just the force of something demanding to wake up. You have been asking yourself why life seems paused, why the pieces refuse to fit even when you try harder than everyone around you. The answer you seek is not in a new place. It is exactly in what you have been trying to hide from yourself. Today, we are going to walk through the map of this awakening. By the end of this message, you will recognize the subtle signs that have been appearing in your routine and understand the hidden meaning behind them. We will identify the specific pattern that stalled your flow, and in the deepest layer you will grasp the root of this waiting you have called a delay, but which is actually preparation. Finally, we will perform the activation of what has been dormant, removing the fog that kept you from seeing the clarity already available. You have felt a tiredness that is not physical, a depletion that sleep or ordinary rest cannot touch. It is an exhaustion of the soul, the weariness of wearing a mask of strength for everyone, while something inside screams for permission to be vulnerable. You feel surrounded yet deeply alone, because the conversations around you sound like static from a radio out of tune. There is a sense of lost time, an ache that life is passing while you watch the clock, waiting for permission that never seems to arrive. But what you call lost time is actually the forging time, where your innermost self was being refined to carry what is about to enter your life. Breathe deeply with me. Sit with that for a moment. Let it settle into the part of you that has waited the longest to hear this. If even one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at any point in the last few minutes, type the number 888 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to the frequency of overflow. It is the smallest agreement you can make, but it is a real agreement with your own truth. Type 888 in the comments and come back here to me. The pattern you have been operating from is forced self-reliance. You believe that if you let go of the reins, everything will collapse, but the truth is your control is only a barrier against what heaven wants to deliver. You have been pulling on ropes that are no longer attached to anything, spending energy to keep doors closed that should have opened long ago. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. Oh. Beneath all of that, there is a winter garden in your soul. You think your essence died, that your dreams froze in time. But the seed that lies there was not destroyed by the cold. It was only waiting for the right season to bloom. The winter of your life was not a punishment. It was the quiet period necessary for the roots to grow deeper than any tree around you. If something inside you just sealed, if the metaphor of the garden landed in a place you cannot explain, type the words "I see" in the comments. Let that recognition seal where it just landed. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type it and come back here to me. The solution you are so desperately seeking is not about doing more. It is about unlearning the struggle. It is about understanding that you are the soil, not the gardener. What lies dormant in you does not need effort. It needs space to breathe. When you stop trying to control the season, the sun begins to melt the frost of your winter, and what was latent begins to sprout naturally. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words. Not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. There is someone in your life who needs this exact message right now, someone who has been striving harder than everyone around them and still sees the door closed, someone who has been quiet in a way nobody around them can explain, someone whose face just appeared in your mind while I was speaking. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, as a delivery, the same way it reached you, as a notice. Before this ends, type the words "I am the chosen one" in the comments, not as a wish, not as hope, as a confirmation. The agreement that has been forming silently between heaven and your listening is an agreement you will live from for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. The pattern that has kept your energy stagnant is not a character flaw, nor a lack of deserving. You have operated for a long time under the logic of resistance, believing that if you could force the door or push the days harder, what is asleep would finally wake. But the diagnosis is simpler and at the same time deeper. You have lived in active waiting. You confused the silence of the earth with the absence of life. You looked at the surface of your reality, saw dry soil, and concluded nothing was happening, when in truth, everything you sought was only growing roots. The stagnation you felt was not a pause in your growth, it was protection. It was energy being preserved for the moment when the structure around you was ready to support the new harvest. Imagine for a moment a winter garden. On the outside it looks bleak, rigid, without any sign of color or movement. The seed planted in the fall did not die. It did not give up on being what it was born to be. It is down there, protected by the frozen layer of earth, waiting for the outside temperature to match the force it carries in its core. During this time, you have felt like that garden. You felt the cold, the isolation, the sense that no one saw what was hidden beneath the snow of your routine. But the seed does not ask the frost if it can sprout. It simply trusts the nature of its own nature. You have been trying to force blooming before the right season, but the only thing that anxiety produces is the wearing down of energy that should be used to sustain your inner growth. The winter is not the end of the garden. It is the preparation, so that spring is not just a passing event, but a state of permanence. If something inside you just sealed, if the image I showed you landed in a place you cannot explain, type the words "I see" in the comments. Type it, and come back here to me. The solution to this state of dormancy is not haste, it is return. You need to unlearn excessive effort, that anxiety of someone who believes the universe only delivers what is ripped out by force. The state of reception is not passivity. It is the posture of letting your hands go, releasing what does not need to be held, and allowing life to align around your purpose. When you soften your resistance, you stop fighting your own story. You do not need to build your harvest. You only need to be present on the day it decides to emerge. Taking a deep breath is the first step in unlearning. Life is not testing you to see if you can endure pain. It is purifying you so that you can handle the intensity of your own light when it finally awakens. Your only duty now is to keep the soil clean and your heart open, because what was dormant has already started to move, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop the sprouting of what was planted by destiny. Something happened to you in this moment. You carry a question that no one around you could answer, but now you are going to hear the answer. You have been trying harder than the people around you, and still the door does not seem to open. There is a clear reason for this. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they truly mean. You will understand the pattern that has blocked your harvest, and you will receive the activation of what lay dormant in you. You have felt sudden waves of emotion with no apparent cause. Conversations that used to feel trivial now ring hollow, and you often wake at repeating times on the clock. These signs are not symptoms of a problem. They are confirmations of a calibration. Your tiredness is not physical. It is the weight of a soul being realigned for a new season. 888 is the frequency of overflow. Type 888 and come back here to me. The pattern that has operated in your life is the insistence on pulling cords that are no longer attached to anything. You have mistaken your loyalty for depletion, believing you need to carry the world on your shoulders to deserve what is already yours by right. There is a metaphor that explains this. Imagine a garden in the height of winter. On the outside, everything looks dry, static, lifeless. The roots, however, are working in the dark, preparing a structure you cannot yet see, but which supports everything that will bloom. You did not die to your purpose. You entered a period of necessary latency so that your foundation becomes unshakable. Type it and come back here to me. The state of reception is not passivity. It is the posture of letting your hands go, releasing what does not need to be held, and allowing life to align around your purpose. Not as a metric, but as a silent agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, the same way it reached you, as a notice, not as a wish, not as hope, but as a confirmation. Type slowly. You have been asking yourself why your gears seem jammed while the world around you seems to turn with an ease you cannot reach. What you feel is not incompetence. It is a strategic pause. Something happened to you in this instant. A silent shift that began to reorganize your internal priorities. I came here to tell you that this answer has finally arrived, but it is not outside. It is in the layer we are now going to explore together. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they truly mean. You will understand the single pattern of exhaustion that has blocked your natural flow, and we will identify the root of this weight you carry as if it were a debt, when in reality it is a treasure waiting to be claimed. The signs are everywhere, but you have been ignoring them out of fear of seeming strange or disconnected. You have been waking consistently at the same hours, feeling a presence that does not materialize but leaves you on alert. Conversations that once nourished you now feel empty, as if you were speaking a language no one else understands. You have noticed that when you try to force an outcome, everything stalls, but when you let go, small things happen almost magically. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. The pattern that has kept you stuck is the habit of trying to hold on to convictions that no longer belong to your current moment. You have operated like a worker who, even after the shift ends, keeps holding the tool because you are afraid that if you let go, the work will not be finished. But the truth is, your current work is not to produce, it is to allow. Your energy was stagnant because you were trying to plant seeds in ground that was already frozen. Imagine your life is a garden that went through a long winter. During that time, you thought the roots had died because you saw no sprouts, no flowers, no movement. You dug the earth, shouted at the rain, and tried to force the sun to shine before its time. But none of that was neglect. It was protection. What was below the surface was not dying. It was strengthening, growing deep roots that will support the glory of the coming spring. If that image of a winter garden touched your essence, if you understood that the silence was only the season of maturation, type the words "I see" in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it just landed. Type it and come back here to me. The solution is not more effort. The solution is the return to your original state of reception. Stop trying to explain to others what you cannot yet explain to yourself. Your function now is only to hold the space, to clear the debris the world left on your path, and to wait for the call of the next seed that is about to germinate. You do not need to earn this movement. You only need to stop fighting the season you are in. Be ready, because what was dormant has already begun to move, and there is no turning back. Your state of vigilance is now permanent. You are no longer the person living on the surface, operating from survival. You are the person who understands that life happens in the interval between your desire and permission, and it is in that interval that your destiny unfolds. Feel how your breathing has changed since we started. You are no longer running anywhere. The tiredness you carry is not a lack of vitality, it is the weight of holding a structure that was not yours. For a long time, you acted as if you were the only one responsible for keeping the light on, for making sure no one around you noticed the crack in the wall or the misstep in your stride. That required a discipline that drained your soul. But see, that same energy you use to keep up appearances is the energy that will now fuel your awakening. It is like a dammed river that, once the first stone is removed, begins to find its natural course again. It is not about doing more, it is about allowing the current to do the work. There is a frequency of relief you have not felt in years, and that frequency is the first sign that what was dormant has finally begun to breathe again. Not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Breathe deeply with me. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, as a delivery, not as a wish, not as hope, as a confirmation. Type slowly, let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You carry something inside that has been stored in a deep refuge, a treasure of energy and purpose that for a long time you believed was lost. I know there were days when the silence became almost unbearable, not for lack of company, but because the voice echoing inside seemed to have nowhere to go. You have lived with the feeling of only waiting, that your real life has not yet begun its true trajectory, even though your effort has been tireless. What I bring you now is not a theory, it is the revelation of a movement already happening in the depths of your reality. By the end of this encounter, you will recognize the 4 specific signs that your waiting time is over and what they reveal about your next step. You will understand the single mechanism of forced self-reliance that blocked the flow of what was meant to reach you. And before this moment dissolves, a declaration will be made directly to your condition, the same declaration that brought you here at this exact moment of clarity. Observe what has been happening in recent cycles. You feel a shift in your perception, as if the colors of daily life have lost their saturation, and what once occupied your mind now seems like background noise. You have been waking at specific hours with a mental clarity that does not belong to exhaustion, but to a summons. You have noticed numbers and synchronicities that are not coincidence. They are markers of a path you began walking without even realizing. And more than anything, you have felt a restlessness that is not anxiety. It is the force of what is dormant wanting to manifest. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. What you have been living is not failure. It is processing. You operated for a long time trying to carry the world on your back, mistaking your resistance for your purpose. You tried to open doors with the force of your will, not realizing the key was already in your hand, only kept in a drawer, you yourself locked out of fear that if you stopped struggling everything would crumble. But the truth is that your effort, though admirable, created a noise that prevented the voice of your intuition from being heard. You were operating from the fear of being forgotten, when in truth you were being preserved. Imagine a winter garden. On the surface everything looks dry, the leaves have fallen, the soil seems hard, and the sky is grey. To anyone looking, the garden appears dead. But underneath the earth, in a necessary darkness, the root system is expanding, strengthening the structure that will support the blooming when the right season comes. You were not being punished by a lack of results. You were in a period of latency. The seed you planted long ago did not die. It only waited until you were ready to sustain the size of what it would become. What was dormant was not your capacity. It was your readiness to receive what you asked for. If the image of this garden landed in a place you cannot explain, if you felt that what I described is exactly what is happening in the roots of your life, type the words I see in the comments. Let that declaration seal the understanding where it just landed. Type it and come back here to me. Now, the invitation is to unlearn. You do not need to build what already exists. You only need to allow the shell to break. The excessive effort you imposed on yourself was a shield, but now it has become a barrier. Let go of control over timelines and methods. The solution you seek will not arrive by a path you can draw. It will come through a gap you allow to open. When you stop forcing the door, you finally realize it was never locked from the outside. It was only waiting for you to recognize yourself as the one with the authority to walk through it. Your role now is one of reception, of attentive listening, of walking without needing to see the entire horizon, only the step that appears before your eyes. If something in this message, this truth about your period of latency, confirmed what your spirit has been whispering, let your like be your amen without words. Not as a counter of numbers, but as a gesture of absolute agreement, a seal you place on what was named here. There is someone in your life who needs this exact clarity right now. Someone you know who has been striving far beyond human strength, carrying a heavy silence and feeling that doors are jammed even though their merit is undeniable. That person whose face just rose in your mind while I spoke needs to understand it is not failure. It is simply the time of the root. Send this message to them, not as someone recommending something ordinary, but as someone delivering a key. Do it as an act of care, a notice for someone also ready to awaken. Before we reach the close of this conversation, there is one final step. A seal of authority you must imprint on your own story. Type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Do not do it out of impulse, nor as someone expecting something from outside. Do it as someone assuming a position that already belongs to you. Let your fingers type those words slowly, feeling each letter as the confirmation that the time of sleep is over. The agreement that has formed between your spirit and the truth we heard today is a life commitment, and your identity from this moment on is no longer that of the one who waits, but of the one who has awakened to their mission. You are committed to the truth that now dwells within you. You are sent to walk with the confidence of one who knows their own worth. You are being guided by a force that understands times and seasons far better than our limited mind can grasp. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition, awakening to the reality that what was still was not dead, but being prepared. You are part of a silent and deep movement, a current that does not need fanfare to transform reality, because its strength lies in the certainty of one who knows exactly to whom they belong. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.